Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Coaching. My name is Britz. I'm executive coach, trainer, and international leadership facilitator and host to the Lunchtime series, where we add value to people's lives happening every day at 12 o'clock on ebizradio.com. Today, we are chatting to someone in the entertainment industry and who's been doing it for some time now. His intro says he's been in the media industry for 23 years. He was the entertainer reporter for newspapers and magazines before becoming a TV presenter on CakeNet and having hosted Glitterati and Tongelos. He's been involved in very many conversations that South Africans, all over South Africa, really love. And also co-hosted some shows on Gareth Cliff's show or radio station Cliff Central. And today he is publicist and MD of Red Dot Marketing and Communications. Please welcome Gavin Wildschutt-Prins. Is that correct, Gavin?
Gavin Wildschutt-Prins.
Wildschutt, okay. No, I'm glad, because then, you know, the more we tell people, the better they'll actually get right. How are you?
The Germans will understand it. I don't know. I've never been to Germany, but yeah, I've yet to go and chase the ancestors and find out what they were doing in South Africa. But yeah, it's absolutely great to be here and great to chat to you. Looking forward.
Thank you. Yes, and thank you for making the time. So, Gavin, you know, when we had this conversation initially, before we even get to the conversation, how is COVID treating you? Because I know, you know, it's not necessarily a topic of conversation that I want to have, because, you know, a lot of people have struggled, obviously. But in terms of how have you experienced it? Are you good? Are you well? I mean, you're looking good, you're looking well and very busy. So give us some insights on where you're at. And what's your take on all this COVID stuff?
You know, with COVID, it's a typical PR trick. You just act like you are busy, but I've really been busy. COVID and lockdown specifically has not been kind to Red Dot, to business, to public relations, because of the fact that it's not an essential service. It's not something that I mean, we as as publicist professionals, it's our job to persuade people and companies, hey, this is what you need. But it's actually like I always say to clients, it's PR is bragging rights. PR is saying, hey, look, I was on this radio station and on this television and in this newspaper and magazine. So it's been very challenging. I have in the whole of the 5 months, I've probably had like 3 clients, which is very challenging for self-employed individual. But what I found interesting, Kevin, was the fact that the shift in terms of the clients and what they wanted, it went from traditional media to more digital media, because obviously the clients are now realizing, hey, most of the people are at home. They don't go out to buy newspapers, and as you know, a lot of our newspapers and magazines have closed down during lockdown because of the fact that people weren't buying. But clients started realizing that digital is now powerful because people are sitting at home, they're working from home, but that gives you more time on social media and consuming like digital news sites. So that is what I found interesting. So yeah, so it's getting better now. Getting a lot of curious calls and stuff like that, because people are now, corporate companies are now realizing, hey, now we've been locked down, we've closed our doors. So, and in some cases, people have retrenched. So now they are looking at ways and means to sort of get more exposure for their brands, be it individual or corporates. And that's why they are now like seriously considering services such as public relations.
Yeah, you know, I've experienced very similar, because, you know, I do a lot of facilitation for leadership programs, and, you know, that is not on the priority list for people to sort of go, oh, yes, let's do leadership, you know, if anything in leadership or training. and especially with what COVID happened. And for 3 weeks when it happened, my brain also freaked out completely, and I was like, okay, what do we do now? And that's how the series was born into how do we add value to people's lives. But
amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, so many people are responding well to this, and it's kind of saying, well, let's have a conversation, let's have experts share some insights, and just give people something to hear and listen to and use.
Absolutely, because what you did was what a lot of celebrities and overseas celebrities do that you would normally see on the big screen. Because all of a sudden now we know what Jason Derulo's front room looks like, and because of all his TikTok videos, we know Gabrielle Union and a whole lot of Hollywood names and Grammy winners where they were just like giving us these online performances. It started. I don't think it did as well as it did like overseas here in South Africa, but I saw a lot of like our local artists, because when the Red Dot started, and typically that is what our conversation will be about today, is artists and actors, but while more singers, they were giving these online sort of performances. But what I did not like, and you would immediately know when someone has a publicist or brand manager and when they don't have one, is because I say to people, pull your face right. Don't look so depressed. And you get these singers that are now with the guitar or singing from the laptop, so their face would be here because that is how, and the phone would be here, and then they would give us this amazing performance, but I did not like the facial expression and just like this sort of this layer of depression that was over them. And for me, one needs to just like smile and wave, continue. We're all suffering because with lockdown has humbled the richest. Lockdown has humbled the most successful. And it just goes to show that when you are flying like, high in the winds, what is that Afrikaans saying? Die hoogste bome vang die meeste wind.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is what I found like interesting in terms of these. But absolutely, like you say, like if you, and that is what I advise clients as well, if things are going bad, not only lockdown, but like in terms of your business as well, where you are forced to retrench and hand people their letters, just find creative ways of getting back into like the swing of things, because and also people are saying now we are entering like a new normal. I have yet to find out what is the new normal, because the new normal looks very old.
Similar. People, except we're wearing masks, right? It's like you go to the shops, everyone just does everything. We lots of sanitizer, lots of masks. That's what we do, right? It doesn't seem like a new normal. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in terms of, one of the things that has been quite dire, and I've sat on and I've been in, as I've been in the entertainment industry for short bits of my life, and I know how difficult it is. But you have firsthand from the experience that you've had and the work that you do, you have firsthand knowledge of how difficult artists and entertainers are really going through at the moment. Do you want to just give us some insights on what you've seen and what you've I mean, you don't have to mention names, but just to share some like insight with listeners who will be listening to this.
So they are what for me, what was the saddest in terms of, and I mean, we spoke about the depression, like the facial expressions of artists when they perform, but when you get messages of just like a bank account of artists were struggling. It was hard. I know of not to sound all somber or anything, but I know of at least two people in the entertainment industry that have committed suicide because
wow.
and that, Kevin, is it's just like, it's so sad to see, so to answer your question, so it's hard out there. It's because their hands were like basically like cut off. Those,
Mm.
for some of them, they went online and they did their online shows. But when you don't know where your money for bread is coming from tonight, never mind tomorrow, tonight or now,
Yeah.
then you are, some of them were too depressed to have these online shows.
Mm.
Some of them were too depressed to answer my phone calls. Some of my friends, because I've been an entertainment reporter, so obviously I met and picked up a lot of friendships and all of that. So it was very, very, very challenging. But I did find that at least two of my friends were able to help another artist.
Mm.
There was a drive, a campaign that we wanted to start, but then we sort of got like a little bit sidetracked. But we offered support, and that was to start like a fund for artists, for singers, for actors. But then it was more like a question of, how do we manage this? How do
Mm.
we manage the finances? Where's it going to go to? And
Mm.
and as we were approached, the Red Dot was approached in terms of, from one artist saying, okay, this is what we need to do. But because of the fact that we just got we just got like red flags,
Mm.
and what happened with the whole scandal in government, with the PPEs, and the corruption and money going into friends and this husband
Yeah.
and that wife. So Red Dot, like, if there's one thing that I've done and that I will continue to do, and that is to not get involved in projects where our name will be tarnished, where you can point
Mm.
fingers at me, and where I'm going to potentially stand in court and have to answer to where money went to, etc. So we backed out quickly. But it
Mm.
was a brilliant initiative to start off with, and that's why we engaged them, Kevin. But I saw the red flags, and I'm like, no, 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 I'm pulling out.
No, absolutely. So, in terms of um, the conversation we're having about entertainers, what should an artist consider when appointing a publicist? Because a lot of the time people kind of go, okay, it's a lot of money and I don't know, what's going to happen from here. Where do I go from here? And so what is the entry point to start considering?
So one needs to do your research. One needs to do your research and do it properly. A lot of artists, believe me, a lot of artists out there are not technologically savvy. They just want to open Facebook and Instagram, and that is it. They've got no idea where to search or how to search. But a good place to start is obviously Google. To
Mm.
Google publicist, to search on Facebook to see, have a chat with friends in the industry. So if you see that friend was on the cover of this magazine or in this newspaper or talking on this radio station, engage with that friend and find out, like, who is the best publicist in the business. There are quite a few.
Mm.
And the amazing thing is, with us publicists, there's not really competition where we would like, yeah, you get one or two, the odd ones. But
Yeah.
like, about 2 years ago, I was at a birthday party, and we were probably about 50 publicists under one roof, attending a birthday party of a PR company. And that is the support that we give each other. So do your research in terms of finding the best publicists.
Yeah.
Identify about three of them, and then you set up interviews, whether it is video, uh, meetings, or
Mm.
one-on-ones. We're in level one now, so we can do one-on-ones. And
Yes.
then just get a feel of that person, because it's nice to get an email. I have found that I've become very precious of my time. So and this is now on the flip side. So if I get an email, hi, like send me your rates and things like that, or tell me more about like what you do, go and do your research. I'm not Google. Go and Google the and find out what is PR. I'm not the red dot PR school. We business. So, and then, okay, so that's the one thing, research and research properly and get a feel of that person, because it's also like you have to like that person as well. And you have to sort of get to gel with that person in order for that person to know and understand you. The other sort of thing that you need to decide on is frequency. Frequency in terms of how often do you want to be in the media? How often do you want to be, sort of interviewed and things like that? Because a lot of PR.
So my question on that is there a case where you could be too much in the media, or like people would complain about it?
Oh, absolutely. Because you see, the thing is, people like you have to know your audience. You have to know your audience, and your audience, you have to read them. They will tell you whether it's too much or too little. I always advise clients that if you've got a personal campaign with your brand, if you've got like a brand, whether it's corporate or individual, whether you've got like something going, to give you an example, we had a beauty queen come to us and say, I want PR. And she took PR where she wanted to be in the media once a month, once a month. When the competition came for the beauty pageant, she quickly upped her frequency to 3 times in the media. So my suggestion would normally be like once a week to twice a month, but not more than that, because you want to sort of not overshare like at one time. You want to save some, like, because also what we need to consider, Kevin, is the fact, and you've done this before, is that where you were a client of ours, is that that if we approach one newspaper, let's say a daily newspaper, the Sunday newspaper is not going to want to have the same angle as the previous one, and the same with the radio, the same with television. They want something new. And that's where the danger comes in, which brings me to like my next point, which is messaging and angles. As a client, it's the message that we want to get across, and for the media, it's angle. What angle are we getting? And that is critically important. So I always encourage clients to change the messaging like every month, but keep it in the same vein. Keep it in the same vein of what we are trying to do, and that is to establish you as a expert in your field. So we keep it in the field, but we just change the angles. We change the angles, and then pictures, 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 pictures. We need some of that fabulous Kevin Britz pictures where you are standing like a boss in some study where you took your pictures. You were amazing because of the fact that I did not even have to ask you for pictures, and here I will get like a range of pictures. So pictures are very important. And what potential clients need to also consider is with so you need to have a few things in place before you take PR. There needs to be social media, because they all work together. If you're a corporate company, there needs to be marketing and advertising, because they link into PR. Pictures, it's key. So if you have like a picture of you with a bottle of Jack Daniels or whatever on your on your Facebook, open up another page, open up a public profile where people can go and read more about you. But that is typically what I would suggest are the serious points to consider when deciding, okay, I think I'm ready for PR.
So another, I mean, one of the, and it always comes up, and especially with PR, because you're kind of going, well, that's an additional to. Often people kind of look at it as, you know, the additionals to my business, having PR, being out there. But in terms of budget, you know, so what are the going rates these days? Tell us more, because essentially, you know, I, as a business owner, I know, you know, it's definitely something that you really have to consider, and also there has to be appointed why you're doing. You know, being in the paper is great, but inevitably, like, what is the end result? But then it also gets back to budget, and how do we? Because I also think people have a misconception that I've heard, that PR is just for big companies, wealthy people, and it isn't necessarily, you know, because it can be, it depends on how you put it together and what the packages are. But tell us more, speak to us more about that. What are we the considerations?
I was hoping this question would be softened and like last, you know.
Sorry.
Very sensitive topic, but anyway, I'll engage you, Kevin. So in terms of budget, so firstly, one needs to decide how, you know, your bank account, or you know your budget. So you need to decide, this is how much I have for PR, right? Whether it's PR and marketing or PR and social media, but you need to decide. And then so for example, let's take because we've been talking about the artists, so let's take the artists, like the actors and the singers. So generally it's for them, it's much more cheaper than the corporates, because a corporate rate is obviously big, there's bigger budget, and you can play around more. In terms of the individuals, so let's take an actor. So it all depends on also on where they are in their life, because sometimes some actors come to me and then they finished, they were on screen like last year, so now they just want PR, and I'm like, no, you need to find something where you are relevant, because you need to be relevant. So so budgets are like very important. Obviously, as a PR company and as a publicist, I have my set rates. So I want to see where my rates compare to your budget. And then I try to, because I obviously have my rates, but it's tweakable. So, you know, you can absolutely like say to me, listen, I don't need that you've got on your list, but I need that, and that is critically important. So in terms of like going rates for individuals is anything, and don't fall off your chair. I hope it doesn't have wheels where you can roll over.
It does, yes.
But PR for individuals can be anything between 3,500 rand and 35,000 rand. I have seen celebrities pay 35,000 rand. You know, and it's all about like, it's also about the publicist. It's also about the publicist, how good he is, and the contacts. Because, and going back to our first conversation about what to consider, and finding the right publicist, you need to have a publicist that knows, that can call up ENCA or SABC very quickly and say, listen, I've got someone amazing, and that person needs to be on your show for this and that reason. So that is that is like, in terms of budget, like what the going rate is. And like I say, I say to my clients, listen, tell me what you need, and I will work out. But I still send my rates, because they need to understand and they need to know, you know, what the rates are. But if you are gonna pay, and this is a big but, if you're going to pay 3,500 rand for PR, you're going to get 3,500 rand of PR. And if you're gonna pay 35,000, and I'm not saying 3.5 and 35, I'm saying there's a lot of numbers in between. So if you pay up to 35, you'll get up to 35, because of the, and that is literally what we do. I'm sitting in my study where I work from most of the time, and we literally like, okay, I've got a client who pays me like X amount, so that's small money, so I'm just gonna, that one can wait. But here comes the 35,000 client. Let me just pay attention because there's big money, and that's
Yeah.
sadly, that is like how most of the publicists operate, is
Yeah.
the more money you put in, the more attention you get.
Yes. So in terms of I mean, every life is like that, right? So
Mm.
it's just how people's focus are, or
Yeah.
focus is. But in terms of when you're doing something bad, like, and I know you might have a
What do you
number
mean?
of so so something bad happens in your world, and people, you're naked on a video or something, and you're, I don't know, on Twitter. I don't know, and it gets out there. What do you do? From a PR, like, I would just freak out first of all. I don't know what I do. I'd phone you first. I was like, Gavin, I need help. But what is the best thing to do? Because I take, for example, and I've mentioned it before, that the dude that was on TikTok ranting about, I don't know if you saw, the weight loss, or he had a big rant about weight loss and stuff. And I don't even know if he's famous or not, but when someone who does that, you can't kind of, when TikTok's got it and it's out there, it's kind of out there, you can't sort of take it back.
And people screenshot. You can't even delete it. People
Yeah.
screenshot.
But what do you do? What do you do in a moment like that? And what's the advice that you could give people out there if something goes wrong? What do you do specifically on your social media? Because it's such a thing in the world right now.
Yeah. So on social media, if it all depends on where it happened. Like, I had a client who was in a racist situation
Yeah.
where she bumped into someone that was of a different race, and they were just hurling like insults at each other.
Dear.
So, and then the next day, I got a call the next day only. And that was, and I only got the call because of the fact that the celebrity is a famous. She acted in a Hollywood series, and she's big in South Africa. Millions of followers on Instagram and Twitter. And I remember I was busy cooking mince curry because I was making the birthday. And
Yeah.
here I am cooking, and I get the call from a magazine to say, so Miss X has been in a racial situation. What is your comment? And obviously, then, so my biggest thing is what absolutely it like I get angry is when I get a call from the media when I should be getting a call from you, my client.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is just me giving an example. So, and then I had to then put the phone down, call, and it looks bad. It looks bad in the media when your publicist does not know what is happening with his or her client. And
Yes.
then, and the media are so clever. I was a reporter, as you said early on.
Yeah.
So if I would call you and say, yo, Kevin, so that tweet that you put out yesterday, there's drama. So what's your comment? And then you say, I'm going to speak to my publicist, or I need to do this, or whatever you say, then that person quotes you because you said it to that person. So, and that is what we need to remember when you are in trouble, is that when you get that call to the to from the newspaper or a reporter, to just say, I'm going to issue a statement. I'm going to issue a statement.
Yeah.
So, but the first thing, obviously, to do is to alert your publicist, or your manager if you have one. That is important. The second important thing is to be honest with your manager and publicist. Tell
Yes.
them everything, even
Yes.
if it goes against the Bible or whatever. Like, tell us everything,
Yeah.
and we will decide what we will put in the statement and what we will put out there. I've done a lot of crisis media before, so it is like an adrenaline rush, because I would call the staff and say, listen, so we need silence, leave everything that you are busy with. We are now on an emergency statement that we need to get out.
Yeah.
So, and then in terms of the messaging, my advice would be come clean. Say you did it. Say you are sorry and move on. If you are going to say, listen, I'm considering my legal rights and whatever, but it's right there in black and white that you did what you did and you said what you said, it's kind of like you are looking absolutely stupid. So my advice would be is come clean. You don't even have to give detail in terms of what you did and how you did it, but say and you apologize if you need to apologize, because now here's the implication. So someone calls me and say to me, listen, so you've done something and we want comment, right? So then I say no comment and I put the phone down. So the other media, and we spoke about angles early on, the other media are gonna call you because you didn't give comment to that media. They're gonna
Yes.
try and get comment from you. And
Yeah.
if you don't answer your phone but you blue tick them on WhatsApp, they're gonna call your friends, as
Yeah.
when I was still deputy editor at Heat Magazine, one of the junior student journalism students came to me and said, "So, wow, where do you get your stories?" And I said, entertainment reporters in South Africa have this obsession to be friends with celebrities because they want to be celebrities themselves.
Yeah.
I say become friends with the friends of the celebrity. Yeah, I just
Yes.
gave my big secret on your show. Kevin Britz, you are welcome. I will put you in the bio.
Thank you.
But but that is the thing. So, but coming back to the point, so it's like nipping it in the bud, nip it in the bud, and move on from there.
So, Gav, just what's as you're talking now, it's evident that if you in a space where you want people to know about your business, about you as a singer, as an actor, and that really applies to any vocation. Don't you want to just touch on, from being in your position, why is it important that people actually consider doing the PR? Because essentially, as much as having a Facebook page up or being on LinkedIn is great, it just it almost becomes redundant if if you don't have someone who's actively working with you at sharing your message and sharing your brand. It becomes more challenging. So don't you want to just give us an sort of an inroads on why this is important, especially now, because a lot of people have gone, I don't have money, I don't want to do anything, everything's small, and the world, the economy is contracted in such a big way. And yet there are marketing companies out there that, I've sort of read about and listened on YouTube and podcasts, and where people are going, no, actually now is the time for people to really turn up their marketing strategies and really get into people's faces and really make sure that people know who you are and what you're doing. Now is the time to do it. What is your take on that?
Absolutely. I agree with you. So it like if you are in a position where for example you are now embarking on a campaign, on a big campaign, whether it's for your individual brand or for your corporate brand, you need PR. If you want to be relevant and get seen out there in terms of being like an expert in your field, you need to get PR. It is people are not, the media are not going to call you, they're going to see probably some of the post or commentary that you do on social media. But if you are serious about elevating your brand, and as the famous business coaches say, elevate your brand to the next level, because that's
Yes.
like the buzz phrase, like everywhere.
Yes.
I actually got sick of it, but later on I understood. And and then if you want to sort of, it's all about reaching an audience. It's reaching an audience, whether it is communicating to your existing audience and acquiring new audience. That is then that you need PR. That's why also going back to our first point in terms of the considerations, considering like the right platform, it's very important. It's very important to know where your audience lies and to understand what the audience is of a specific radio station that you want to be on. Like people want to be on, like, popular shows and stuff, but your audience might not be the same as
the message you're trying to share. Yeah.
And I had a client who he was a business coach, and I secured him an interview on Alex FM, which is a community news, community radio station right here in the heart of Johannesburg. Very popular, numbers, high numbers, and I'm all about the numbers. So then he absolutely refused because it was a black audience, and it was community, and he was concerned over his safety. Then I took another client. I called another client and I said, "Do you want the spot?" And she was like, "Yes, I want the spot." And I took her there, and she lives in a 3-story building, in the south of Johannesburg.
Yeah.
And off she went, and not only did she get on that during that interview, not only did she get one client, a paying client, she also got another young female entrepreneur that needed a business mentor that she's mentoring, So it's so, Kevin, it's so fulfilling. It's fulfilling because your bank, there's money coming in, and also there's like, you are giving back to the community. So that's 2 birds with 1 stone, with 1 interview. And she was so happy. She was like, she couldn't thank me enough. I think she posted twice on Facebook to say, "Thank you, Gavin." Thank you, Red. So, if you want to get out there, and if you want to coach, if you want to mentor, if you want to get your message across, get your opinion across, the media is waiting. The media, they want new faces. They want new angles and just content, because content is everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Gav, speaking about content, I know that you've started this online Facebook chat. Don't you want to just tell people about it? I was listening to some of your conversations, and it was quite hilarious. You had what happened, crazy things that happened at a funeral. What is something like that?
So you know what? So it is like the conversation, like you said now. So it's lockdown, you sitting, you Kevin Britz, and you like, okay, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna start an online chat show.
Yeah.
So I saw this post of a friend called Kurt Baker. He's the brand manager for one of the magazines in Cape Town. And he was just talking about like funerals. Give us your funeral stories. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like I have had a funeral where I walk into the house service and the wrong body appeared,
Oh, wow.
So, and while it is sad at that time, today we laugh about it because it's just so hilarious. And then I contacted 2 other friends and I said, why don't we do a chat show, like an online chat show? And then we decided, okay, Stup. A lot of people understand and know Stup, So we called it Stup Gale. Gale is a gay term for talk.
Okay.
Especially like in the Cape Townian gay community or the LGBTQ plus community. And then we just started this thing. And I said to them, are we going to talk Gayle? Are we going to talk English? Or are we going to talk Afrikaans? And then they said, listen, let's talk everything. And the beauty of the talk show is, and it's proper like online, it's Facebook, it is, while we have appreciation for shows like yours, Kevin, where you are teaching people something, you are giving them something, For us, ours is different in the sense that
Mm.
you just need to lay down with a glass of wine, because we drink on the show, and eat
Yes.
your wine. And you need to laugh with us and
Yeah.
comment and give us like your stories, because there's so much of stories like in South Africa. There's like differences in terms of our cultures as well. So we did the funerals last week. We spoke about bizarre weddings and outrageous parties.
Yeah.
I was at a party with a snake where people were playing past the snake, and there was
Oh,
this
wow.
big Burmese python. I died because I've got this fear for snakes.
Yeah, I'm not good with snakes. No, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, who does that? So,
Yeah.
and this week our topics is dates. So
Dates.
we're
Yeah.
going to that place where people are shy. Tinder. We're talking
Yes.
Tinder. We are talking Grindr.
Yes.
We are talking
Oh,
on
well.
dating apps.
I'll definitely be in tune into that, because that's going to be hilarious.
Please do. Please do.
So, Gav, I mean, unbelievably, we've already chatted for more than what the show usually allows, but I'm so happy that you could share some useful content with us. In terms of where we want to get hold of you, if we want to tune into your Facebook and find out more about who you are, what you're doing, and get the advice from a professional, where can we go?
You can reach me on, I'm still on social media. I still have my maiden surname, so you don't have to look for that Wildschutt surname.
Yes.
But it's Gavin_Prins,
Yes.
Prins, on Twitter, and the same handle on Instagram, the same handle on Facebook. So it's basically Gavin_Prins, and you can just drop me a message there, or go and like whatever I say, or feel free to not like what I say.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome to not like it. Gavin Wildschutt-Prins, thank you so much for joining us on Lunchtime Coaching. It's been such a pleasure, and thank you for making the time for us. I know that you're a busy man. I know that it's time is valuable, but thank you for taking the time, and we will then chat to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been
Thanks,
great.
Gav. Chat to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.